Well, hi everyone. I want to thank you for allowing me to come speak to you as a school board about the different teacher evaluation models we have in place and some thoughts and ideas about whether to keep formative and summative evaluations together or separate for our teachers. So let's first talk about there are a few type of teacher evaluation models that we are using within our district. The first is we use formative teacher evaluations, and this is designed to help provide information to help our instructors improve their instruction. So we want to help our teachers improve their instruction and therefore obviously impact student learning. Another type of performance evaluation is a summative evaluation, and this is actually designed to measure actual instructor performance. So the focus and the lens of the two type evaluations are a little bit different. Formative is trying to help the instructor improve their instruction, and the summative is designed to actually measure their performance. So the question is, should they be completed collectively or independently? I know the speaker prior to me took the stance that they should be completed collectively, and I am here to say that it is, in my professional opinion, that these two types of evaluations should be kept separate. I'm going to talk about each of them individually and talk about why I feel like it's really critical for them to be kept separate. So let's first talk about formative evaluations. Formative evaluations are meant to be supervisory in nature. We're meaning that we want to help supervise our teachers. We want to help them. They're meant to identify areas of not only strengths for our teachers, but challenges, and then give them assistance on how to help them improve in those areas. So it's not meant to be punitive. It is not meant to be determining one's independent snapshot in time. It's really meant to kind of be there as guides and supportive roles for our teachers to identify areas that they maybe are experiencing challenges or concerns in, and then provide them with ongoing support to improve those areas of their teaching. Obviously, like I said, the goal is to assist them in both professional growth and improvement of teaching. Um, it means that we're going to monitor their progress or growth in their effectiveness of teachers. So when we talk about monitoring, it's not something that happens once, it's something that's ongoing. It's meant to help continue to meet teachers where they're at and help them grow. Exactly like what we want to do for our students. We want to meet them where they're at, assess where they are, identify areas for potential growth, and then give them the opportunities to develop that learning and showcase that throughout a period of time. It should be tied to professional development. So if we're evaluating our teachers and we're saying, here's an area that, could be identified as an area of challenge for you that we would be looking for some growth in, we need to be able to provide them with professional development to obtain those skills to improve their teaching. It's not something where we can say, this is an area of concern and then move on. It's an area of concern. We are here to help you. Here to help you grow. And here's the professional development opportunities we're providing for you in order to gain that knowledge. We want to identify needs of a department, a grade level, a curricular area. The needs of second grade teachers are quite different than maybe the needs of our technical education department at our high school. And so we want these formative evaluations to identify maybe some trends, some areas of challenge that might be occurring across the grade level or across a curricular area, and then figure out how we as instructional leaders can help provide them with the ongoing support in that area. Again, I've touched on this before, but it's meant to be ongoing. It's not a one and done type of thing. It's meant to follow the teacher throughout the year and or their educator effectiveness cycle. And then who is the evaluator? Well, actually, in this type of model, the evaluator could be a variety of different people. It could be their supervisor, it could be an instructional or a peer coach. Maybe for a new teacher, it's their mentor teacher that they've been assigned at the beginning of their employment with us. And it also could be an administrator. So since this is not tied to a formal evaluation that is dealing with employment or discipline or anything like that, it's really meant to be supervisory and supportive in nature. So we have the opportunity to provide teachers with a lot of different evaluators. And this also can help with the area of building ongoing communication and trust with this person. And so my suggestion is that when all possible, we have it be somebody other than the actual administrators that is doing their formal evaluation. But but somebody that they can really look at as a supportive role person in their area that they're working in, that can help them, go to communicate, provide that ongoing support that does not appear to be tied to any sort of overall evaluation, or the potential of being punitive in nature. Like I said, we here at Superior, we use the peer coaching model. We talk a lot about how everybody can benefit from having a peer coach, and so we've got those four individuals at the high school that are working collectively through out our building with our different areas and different teachers, and helping them go through it. So they are obviously ones that could be completing these evaluation, and I also touched on, all new teachers to our district are given mentors, and I think those people are great resources in terms of meeting with and doing some, formative evaluation of our staff as well. Let's move on to summative evaluations. So we talked a lot about formative up to this point. Now, summative are different in that they're administrative in nature. They're meant, obviously, to provide accountability for our school districts. We want to ensure that we have high impactful instructional staff in our classrooms. We want to make sure that we have our teachers in with our students are doing the best possible job, and so that's why there's a summative evaluation process to determine those things moving forward. It does have some judgment, and it's based on teacher performance. So the whole idea of a summative evaluation is, how are our teachers performing? This is included in our employment decisions. Obviously, in Wisconsin, we don't have the tenure model, but a lot of districts in the area, Minnesota, Illinois, do. And then even when we're thinking about the renewal process, or if we're talking about the allocation of FTEs, our summative evaluations are obviously tied to those decisions. And so these types of evaluations are necessary, but they're obviously very different than formative evaluations that I previously just talked about. Our formative, or I'm sorry, our summative evaluations need to be based on our district policies that mandate the purpose, the procedures, and the frequencies. We want to ensure that all of our teaching staff, all of the people going through summative evaluations, are going through the same evaluation, that it's consistent, that it's based on procedures and policies set forth by our district. Summative evaluations need to be obviously documented on an evaluation form, a universal form throughout our district. So every teacher, whether they're a second grade teacher, a middle school math teacher, a high school music teacher, they're all being evaluated by the same evaluation form, one that's set and been adopted by our district. Standard forms, but they should also, of course, be broad enough to be able to evaluate those curricular areas or grade levels that I just mentioned. And then summative evaluations need to be over a select period of time, usually 1 year, where our formative evaluations are meant to be ongoing in nature. Who is the evaluator in this type of evaluation? The evaluator needs to be an administrator, so head principal, assistant principal, but those would be the ones that would be completing the summative evaluations for our teachers. So, like I said at the beginning of this presentation, my stance is that it's really important and it's critical that we keep these two types of evaluations separate. And I'm going to explain to you my reasoning behind that. Number one is they have different goals. The purpose of these evaluations are very, very different. So we need to not only remember that, but we need to showcase that to our teaching staff of, why are we doing formative and why are we doing summative? They're very different. And I feel like they need to be separate because of that. They have different procedures. We have different evaluators. Like I said, my recommendation is that we keep the types of evaluators separate. And then we have a different mindset. Like I said, our formative evaluations are meant to be assistance. We want to help our teachers, and our summative evaluations are really trying to evaluate our teacher performance. So trying to do those two very different types of things in one evaluation model does not seem like it's a good idea, doesn't seem like it's effective, and it feels like a majority of the times when people keep the two types of evaluations through the same model, they all kind of tend to lead to where the formative observations are turning into just data that we use in our summative observations. And so I don't know that the mindset and the lens of really being assisting and supervisory in nature for our formatives would stay that way if we kept them in the same model. We feel like it's really important that the trust and the openness must remain at the forefront of this decision. So we have wonderful people in our classrooms. We have amazing teachers, and there's a lot of people that are doing really, really great things. And oftentimes people are fearful of summative evaluations. They feel like they're a gotcha moment, or they feel like they're going to be punitive. And so if a teacher is struggling, if they are experiencing things that they maybe could use some assistance and guidance in, if we keep our evaluations together, I know that it is very difficult for teachers to be vulnerable and to be open about needing help because they feel like potentially that could be used against them in the future. So if we were to keep our models separate and we had a formative process with different people other than our summative evaluators, I know that that would showcase to our teachers and our staff that it is okay to be vulnerable, it is okay to ask for help, it is okay to admit when things maybe aren't necessarily going as well as we want them to, but we're here to help, we're here to support, and we're going to learn and we're going to grow together. And I feel like keeping the models separate really will allow that to happen, which will increase the trust and the openness for our staff. So how can we keep these two types of evaluations separate? I've already talked a lot about using different evaluators. Um, we can use different evaluation cycles. In some districts, they do the summative at the beginning of the year or in year one. So if the summative is completed and, let's just say, kind of put to rest, and then the formative, the ongoing process happens afterwards, there's no fear that that punitive piece is going to come back in effect. Whereas if we try to do the formative ongoing through the beginning of the year and the summative at the end, I think most people would feel like all of the formative data is just being collected and implemented for the summative, and so it kind of defeats the purpose. It could be that the summative is completed in year one of a 3-year cycle, and then the following 2 years are just ongoing formative evaluations and assistance for our teachers. We must always remember at the end of the day, what is our focus and what is our intention. I believe it's critical to the success of this process that the formative and the summative evaluations must be kept separate. The focus is different, the intention is different, and the overall effectiveness is compromised when they're put together in one instructional model. And that is why it is my stance, my recommendation that as a district that we determine that we need to keep the two evaluation cycles separate, as they're both important components of the overall teacher evaluation model, but because they are so different and because of the impacts of combining them, I feel like it's imperative that as a district we make the decision to keep them separate. I want to thank you all for your time, and I am open to any questions that you may have.